One Night in the Tropics, directed by A. Edward Sutherland and released by Universal Pictures in 1940. I'm Andrew Olson. Welcome to a classic cinema review. Aristocratic playboy Steve Harper is played by Robert Cummings, who is head over heels in love with his beautiful fiancée, Cynthia, played by Nancy Kelly. Steve has a rather unfortunate, mishap-laden first meeting with Cynthia's Aunt Kitty, played by Mary Boland. Aunt Kitty doesn't like Steve very much, and the wedding ends up getting put in jeopardy. While Steve tries to make amends, his best friend Lucky, an insurance salesman played by Allan Jones, comes up with a brilliant idea. Love insurance. Lucky proposes to insure Steve's love for Cynthia with a $1 million insurance policy. Steve goes along with the idea because Lucky earned his nickname due to the fact he has never had to pay off on an insurance policy before, thus ensuring that the marriage is a cinch. Unfortunately, Lucky can't get the insurance policy accepted back at the office and is forced to have it underwritten by nightclub and gambling den owner Roscoe, played by William Frawley. Meanwhile, the unexpected shows up in the form of Steve's ex-girlfriend, the beautiful and possessive Mickey, played by Peggy Moran. She is well and determined to marry Steve regardless of who gets in her way. When Roscoe finds out about this, he sends his two henchmen, played by none other than famous comedy duo Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, to take care of the problem. The romantic subterfuge just gets deeper and deeper, trying to hide ex-girlfriends and secret insurance policies from Cynthia, and she ends up running off to the fictional paradise in South America, San Marcos. The rest of the characters decide to hightail it after her, trying to either save the marriage or destroy it completely, depending on which side they're on. There's comedy, romance, song and dance, a four-sided love triangle, and Abbott and Costello wreaking havoc no matter where they go. This is a light-hearted romantic comedy based on Earl Durr Bigger's novel Love Insurance. And of course, Earl Durr Biggers created the fictional detective Charlie Chan. The production quality in this film is very good, especially for 1940, I would say. Granted, there were movies that were much more expensive, I'm sure, and had more interesting set pieces and so on and so forth. But this is very good, especially for an Abbott and Costello film. By the end of their career, their films seem to be lacking somewhat in terms of the production value. The acting is also very good. I would say that the actors did a great job playing their characters. The characters are played straight. I mean, they're not cheesy, and I think that makes them more believable, despite the fact that all the situations in the film are completely ridiculous. The music in the film was done by Jerome Kern, with lyrics by Dorothy Fields, and the song Your Dream had lyrics by Oscar Hammerstein II, and orchestrations were done by Frank Skinner. I know Frank Skinner did a lot of composing and orchestration for Universal back in the 1940s. The film itself, unfortunately, was not well accepted by critics back in 1940. Abbott and Costello were the only ones who really got any praise in the film. This was their first film, by the way. They had been in radio and on stage previously, and audiences knew them from those two forms of entertainment. But they'd never been on the big screen before, and I'm sure it was a thrill to see them in 1940 in a motion picture. They do some of their best comedy routines that they were already famous for on the radio, including a truncated version of Who's on First, which I thought was done very well. The boys were in rare form in this film, and I can see why critics praised them for their performances. The production notes on the DVD that I've got for the film state that, I think it was Time Magazine had an article that said that the film was tedious. And I can see how the film is a bit tedious in terms of the story. A lot of the tediousness, I think, comes from the fact that the characters really don't display any common sense. If any of them, any one character in the movie just sat down for 2 minutes and thought about the ridiculous nature of all the situations that they were getting themselves into, and I think they would figure out what's going on, and you just have misunderstandings stacked up, and everything would work itself out for the better. But if common sense came into the film, then we really wouldn't have a romantic comedy. We'd have a romantic drama instead. And speaking of Abbott and Costello, um, despite what the critics said back in the 40s, I liked the film. And that's just my personal opinion, and I encourage you to give me yours down in the comments below. But one problem that I have, not with the movie itself, but is with sort of the reputation that the movie has gained as being an Abbott and Costello film. It's advertised as an Abbott and Costello film. It's in Abbott and Costello's Universal box set. And when I first saw it back when I was a kid, it was an Abbott and Costello movie. Abbott and Costello were on the cover of the VHS. It said Abbott and Costello, One Night in the Tropics, and I expected them to be the main characters. And they are not. This is a Alan Jones, Nancy Kelly, Robert Cummings film. That's really what it is. Abbott and Costello just add more humor to it, playing the minor characters that they do. It was interesting to see the characters that they did play. They were a little bit different than the characters that we have known Abbott and Costello to play. I mean, they play the two henchmen. They're not scary or vicious or mean by any means, but it's still interesting to see them play that sort of a dynamic. But this is not a movie that focuses on them. So if you go into the film thinking that it's an Abbott and Costello film, you may be disappointed. If you go into the film thinking it's an Alan Jones, Nancy Kelly, Robert Cummings movie with Abbott and Costello guest starring, if you will, then you might be more rewarded. They are actually billed third and fourth in the film behind Alan Jones and Nancy Kelly. So to me, that if they don't have top billing, it's not an Abbott and Costello film. But I guess that's one way for Universal to market the movie, especially since it wasn't well received originally. So, that's my 2 cents on that. I'm going to give the film 4 out of 5 stars. I think for what it is, it's got high quality acting, high quality production value. The music is good. If you're looking for just some entertainment, get a bag of popcorn, and I think this one will fit the bill. Hit that like button if you thought the review was helpful, insightful, or at the very least entertaining. Hit that subscribe button for more reviews coming in the future. This has been a Classic Cinema Review. I'm Andrew Olson, and I look forward to seeing all of you next time. Well, hold up. Before you go anywhere, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to the folks over at drmacro.com. I'll have a link in the description below. drmacro.com is a website with high-resolution scans of photographs, posters, and magazines, other memorabilia from the golden age of Hollywood. For my One Night in the Tropics review, which I assume you've just watched if you've made it this far, all of the photographs and posters that have popped up here throughout the video were from drmacro.com, and I want to thank all the folks over there for letting me use those for free. And I want to thank Jerry specifically for getting back to me so soon. Thank you, Jerry. Please, folks, go over to drmacro.com and check out what they've got to see. It's really quite extraordinary. I thank all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time.